I'm not going to do any slides. I'm just going to do a little bit of waffling on stage and then let you ask some questions. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Andris Bērziņš, and I'm running a startup called BuzzTale alongside a few other things I do. But I've actually been involved with Seedcamp for almost 2 years now, I think. And personally, I'd just like to say how delighted I am you're finally here. It's only taken me 2 years of badgering to get you here. But I got involved with Seedcamp as a mentor. So going to several of the Seedcamp events in London and helping mentor teams that are startups. And so I knew Seedcamp quite well, and so I'm one of the people who's, I think, quite well positioned at sort of knowing what you're getting into if you're joining an accelerator like this. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit more broadly about what joining a program like Seedcamp in general can give you, and this applies to a lot of other accelerator programs. So the first thing is really faster learning. So especially for those of you who are younger, who have not started businesses before or not had a long career in various startups, an accelerator is a way to literally accelerate your learning. So to get advice, feedback, learn lessons faster, fail faster, and therefore have a higher chance of getting to the right product market fit, the right business model to actually build a successful business, right? So every startup I've been in, and it's probably now five startups, I think, every one of them is doing something significantly different from what they were doing the day I joined, right? I mean, very different. I was in a business that started looking at a consumer product, went to IP licensing, and ended up building an enterprise solution that costs usually hundreds of thousands or millions for every installation, right? So these business ideas, as you hit customers, and Steve Blank, well-known writer, has a great saying that no business plan survives contact with a customer. So as you start to talk to customers, things change. And what an accelerator can do, it can speed up that learning. So the second is to give you really fast and relevant feedback. So by having mentors around who have been around the block before, you can basically decrease the chances of making mistakes you don't need to make. The third is they can help you with contacts. So basically, if you don't know the guy at some company you need to talk to, or don't know a particular investor, or haven't been traveling and in business as long and don't have as wide a network, these accelerators can help put you in touch with people who can speed up business. And the last one is that accelerators can help raise your profile more quickly. So by getting into an accelerator program, the investors look at who's in, who's accepted, who's got that initial investment, and that's a mark of quality that investors will look at to screen out who it's worth even paying attention to, right? So whose email is it worth answering? Who is it worth spending some time talking to? So that's why accelerators work in general, and why a team like BuzzTale would join. And in terms of BuzzTale, this is a product actually that was in existence when I joined, and we changed direction somewhat in terms of not looking at consumer business, but looking at selling to other businesses as a B2B service. So there was a product already, and there was a team. But it was clear that we wanted to use the opportunity to kickstart that business faster, to raise a profile, increase the networking speed faster. So all of these things meant that when we had the opportunity to join Seedcamp, it was kind of a no-brainer, because it just means we can speed up that process of getting to where we figure out what the right business is. And as of yesterday, we've done another pivot, so we're changing the focus of the business of the business based on the lessons we've learned since November when we joined Seedcamp. Right. So we've talked to a bunch of customers. Our business plan didn't survive contact with the customers, as they all don't, and so we're actually changing the focus somewhat. And that's being in that process has helped that. So then I'd like to add a few comments as to why Seedcamp in particular. So firstly, I think if you look at the overall accelerator space, there's kind of a hierarchy, and there's going to be a shakeout. So a lot of them will not be able to raise follow-on funds, but there are really a handful globally that have proven success in terms of being able to get good teams in and help those teams succeed, and those teams be able to raise follow-on money. And Seedcamp is among one of those in the world that really has that success story. So I'm assuming, Kirsten, because I was on a flight this morning, but you shared some of the results that you've had over the years you've been in business, and 116 teams now, I think.
119.
119, yeah. Right. So 119 teams under the belt means there's a lot of experience, a lot of very specific knowledge that you can tap into, which helps every next team succeed ever much the more easily. So I think that's key. Reshma and Carlos, two partners at Seedcamp, are very experienced and have an amazing set of contacts. And so if you can get into a program like this, it's like going to a top university, right? So you get into a network, you get into an alumni group of other startups that can help you succeed. And the quality bar is really high. So it's hard to get in, and that's so if you can get in, that's a stamp of quality that's really helpful. And the last thing I think for Seedcamp in particular, as an accelerator program, is it allows you to stay here. So for those of you who are teams, I think everyone was a team from the Baltics today. So one of the things that this investment program allows you to do is keep your base where it is. Travel to London when you need to to talk to investors, to talk to customers, to get learnings at the Seedcamp Academy and so forth, but not to have to move the whole team suddenly. And that is a great advantage from the financial point of view in terms of being able to keep your costs low, so you can grow that business without adding huge costs immediately in needing to move to London. So I think that's an advantage for a lot of teams here. So I guess those are my sort of top-level thoughts, but I'd be really interested in what your questions might be, unless I've missed anything, Kirsten, that you think I should cover.
No, I think it's very interesting, especially to hear your experience, the analogies you made. I think, as what you said, just to highlight that, you're now one of 119 teams, and the knowledge that those other founders have, and to have that peer-to-peer exchange is hugely valuable. And as you said, you pointed out, we're not just 3 months, we're a year long and then some. So I think you highlighted all the key aspects, and very interesting to hear your view and what the benefits are versus me, sharing those details this morning. So brilliant.
Does anyone have any questions? There you are. Yep. Chris, wait for the mic for a second.
Hi. Did you consider other programs or accelerators, or was the Seedcamp like the main one?
So in our case, we actually didn't apply to any others because just around the time that I joined and we were kicking off that stage of the business was the applications for Seedcamp, and we got in and we won. So it was a no-brainer, and so we didn't actually apply. But I would highly recommend that, unless you happen to be in that kind of a scenario, apply to many of them. Right? There's no sense in not doing an application to Y Combinator if that application deadline is around and you think you have a chance, even if the chance is this big, because you might get some feedback. You might get someone. You might not get into a program, but some of these accelerator programs, they will look at an application. They may communicate with you. You may get some good feedback actually on what it would take to get in. So I know some other teams that have applied to Seedcamp and not got in. And I've seen some of the feedback that Seedcamp has given to those teams as well, and it's been valuable in pointing out, well, if you do this kind of thing, so you really need to focus on revenue traction. That's the issue. Team looks great, but you've not got any revenue, or you've not got users, or other feedback. So I think that's these applications. Some of them are more of a pain in the backside than others, but I think it's worth applying to more.
And just if I could add to that, so echoing everything that you said, but also one point that Ricardo highlighted when he was on stage, which is Satago applied. They actually came to Seedcamp Week, didn't get investment. They applied again. They took that feedback on board. They made some amendments, applied again, and then got in. And we see that very often at Seedcamp. So definitely don't be disheartened if you don't get in the first time round. It shows determination. We had a team that we've invested in quite recently called Revision App. They applied 7 times, right? So there's no harm in applying again and again and again. And if we see your application and we're like, these guys are not taking no for an answer, that in itself makes you stand out. And the second point to maybe mention is, we've often had feedback from teams who've gone through the application form. We've spent an awful lot of time creating those questions to analyze, how do you guys think? How do you think about your business? Do you think big? Do you want to go global? And a lot of the teams have said, even if they didn't get in, simply going through that thought structure about your business, actually stopping work, spending a few hours thinking strategically about your business, which really valuable in itself. So, just 2 little comments there to add.
Any other questions? Wait for the mic for a second.
Hi.
Yeah.
Question here.
There you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
here. About
see.
money and percent. How much money on average can
Sorry?
you get? How much money on average can you get for how much percent of your company given away?
So do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So we have it detailed on our website. We understand teams can be at different stages when they get to us. They might need the network more than the cash. They might need the cash. So we've structured 3 different options. One is 50,000 euros for 8 to 10%, 25 for 5, and 3 for warrant. So, you don't get too heavily diluted, but you're part of the program. You get all the benefits that go with it. So those are the 3 structures. They're detailed on our website if you want a little more information, or I can come talk to you, but that's basically the structure.
Okay, there was a question from the lady over there. Hang on, wait for the mic. It's just coming there.
Hello. My question will be, if I consider that this seed camp is really for me, so what I have to do to get in? Because you mentioned before that you refused several applications, and so what exactly you Andris did that you were involved in this? That these guys said to you, yes, you are in.
Probably better a question for Kirsty.
So it's a tough question to answer. So as I already highlighted at the start, we receive roughly 3,000 applications per year, and we invest in 1% of that. So, that is a huge filter. There's a lot of things that we like to see. A great team, a team that has experience within the product, what they're building. We like to see a big vision. Are you thinking global? We really want to back, multi-million-pound businesses of the future. So are you thinking big? Do you have a clear route that you're going to execute that big vision on? And we invest in very, very different stages. So we've invested in companies, let's say Crash Padder, who sold to Airbnb. They already had revenue. And we've invested in companies like Blossom when they joined us that just had a prototype. So it's not so much about where you are right now. It's just that you're the right people with a big vision going after a big market. And if you can communicate that, then it's really appealing.
Yeah, and I think that's a general lesson that we try and talk to startups at TechHub here in Riga is, I think that's changed in the last 2 years. Is the startups that are looking now are much more focused on a global market, and you can tackle a fairly or a very focused problem. If you can scale that to a global market, it can be a big business. So unlike I know here in Latvia and I think elsewhere in the Baltics in the past, a lot of the focus was very much on the local market. You need to completely reverse that. Instead of trying to get a lot of customers in Latvia or whatever, you need to reverse that. You want just a handful of a small target market, but be able to access it globally, and that makes it much more attractive. And if you can show that you have the skills in terms of the team to address that, and I think some proof that you can hustle, right? So some proof you can build something, you can sell something, you can acquire some users, and there are different stages, as Kirsten said, but you need to be able to show that you can get it together. Any other questions?
No?
Okay, I'll be around later today and tomorrow as well if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you.